Nothing says success like a margarita poolside and working with a great mortgage lender. And you know, before you work with a mortgage lender, before you pick a mortgage lender, you know what? You should probably ask him some, if not all, of these 10 questions. First, what's the best interest rate I qualify for? And what fees go along with it? Not every lender is the same. While rates are based on different factors, every lender has their own cost of doing business. So you want to know what the fees are associated with the rate. Second, is your rate quote based on paying points? When you see those really good numbers online that say 5% interest rate when every other lender is at 6%, those are the big bold ones. But in fine print, you'll see interest rate quoted is based on paying 2 points and a 780 credit score, something to that effect. So you want to know what is the par rate, or the rate at which you're not going to pay any fees to get that rate. The third question you want to ask your lender is, what will my full mortgage payment be? All right, a lot of times you'll get quoted just the principal and interest, but your mortgage payments consist of principal, interest, tax, and insurance. So you want to know what the full PITI is. And if you're buying in Hawaii where you have an association fee, you want to know what the association fee is going to be, because that's a full payment what we're talking about here. So PITI and then A if there's an association fee. The fourth question you should ask is, can you go over the loan estimate or the closing cost worksheet with me? Now, if the lender can't walk you through the loan estimate line by line and explain what each of those costs are, then they're probably not a very experienced lender, and you might want to think about using somebody else, because they should be able to explain everything that you're going to pay for that loan. The fifth question I would ask is, are you a retail lender or a broker? There's a big difference between the two. So a retail lender gets its money from one bank. Now, they may say they broker to other banks, but typically they are going to try and push you to the bank that they work for, that pot of money. Whereas a broker, like myself, a broker works with many different lenders and has many more products than that retail lender is going to have. And those rates you're getting are wholesale, so they're going to typically be less than what you're going to get from a retail lender. The other thing with a retail lender, there's a lot of overhead with retail lenders to cover all the bank support staff and the multiple layers of chain of command in the retail bank. Whereas a broker, as a wholesale channel, they keep costs to a minimum, which equates to lower rates for you, the buyer. So the next question that you need to ask is, how long is it going to take to close my loan? Now, normally 30 days is a standard, but some banks, especially some of the bigger retail banks, they're not very good at closing at 30 days, and especially if they work 9 to 5 and they don't work on weekends. So you want to know how long they're going to close, but 30 to 45 days is a standard, and in places other than Hawaii, a lot of times less than 30 days in a competitive market is what should be expected. You know, the seventh question I would ask is, can I lock my rate? And if I lock my rate and rates get lower, can I float down my rate? Some banks are pretty good at it, some are not. So you need to know, and one of the advantages of working with a broker is, say you lock at 5.5% and then rates drop down to 5%. A broker has a lot more options to get your rate down to that 5% than the retail lender, who's going to say, oh, sorry, we locked and we might be able to float you down, but it's going to cost you more money. With a broker, there are options that you can use, maybe choose another lender or even renegotiate the rate with your current lender to get your rate down to where the rates actually drop. So that's an important question. That's a big money saver. Can you float down the rate and or renegotiate to get that rate lower to meet what the market is actually providing? Now, I don't know what happened to that other guy. Maybe he had one too many margaritas, or maybe he just deleted that video segment. But I am here to answer the final 3 in the top 10 questions you should ask your mortgage loan officer before you make that final decision. Number 8, do you have any down payment assistance programs? Now, not every lender is going to have them. I know I have some down payment assistance programs, but not everybody is going to qualify. But you should at least ask the lender if there are any down payment assistance programs. The 9th question you should ask is how do you handle issues that come up in underwriting the loan? This is super important. What is the strength of the team that's supporting that loan officer? Some loan officers are alone and unafraid, or they are afraid, or they just don't know what they're doing. And you're going to have a very tough time if there are conditions that come out of underwriting that are not normal. What you want is a loan officer who has a team that supports him. You don't want a loan officer whose processes for many different loan officers. We call those contract processors. They are great for the easy files, but for the loans that have complexities, you want a processor who's going to be dedicated and will communicate with buyer agent, listing agent, and title escrow company. So it's super important. How do you handle underwriting issues? Because the underwriter, they're the person behind the screen. They make that final decision on whether or not that loan gets approved. And you know what? Nobody likes surprises. The loan officer doesn't, the buyer and the seller certainly don't either. So you want a proactive loan officer processing team. All right, so the last question that you ask that lender, what sets you apart from other loan officers? Now, if that loan officer starts bad-mouthing all the other loan officers out there,
this company's that company's that.
You know what? You probably don't want to work with them. You want to work with a loan officer who's going to quickly say what his value is to you. For instance, as a loan officer, when you ask this loan officer what sets you apart, I'm going to say, I'm going to make you a successful homeowner. Doing the loan is the easy part. What is difficult and where most loan officers fail is they don't assure you become a successful homeowner. Right? They don't do the things that we do at the broker. Filing your homeowner's exemption, helping you with estate planning, helping you if you're going to do a 1031 exchange down the road or a Delaware statutory trust, or getting you the settlement statement so that you can file your taxes. Maybe even recommending a CPA if you need one. All right? The most expensive thing that you own is your home. All right? You want a loan officer who's going to be there not just for the refinance, but throughout the entire time that you own a home to help you make the right decisions on home ownership, which could include, do I sell the home or do I rent it? Are they going to help you run the numbers? Are they going to help you with a list of the people they use for their own property, for whether it's an AC tech, a plumber, a painter, a handyman? That's what you want your loan officer to be. You want your loan officer to shine not only during the process, man, that's basic stuff. You want after the loan closes, what are they going to do to become your loan officer for life? All right, so those are the 10 questions you should ask your loan officer before you make your final decision. Hopefully, you won't go much farther than me, and I'd love to help you. All right, the broker 808. You're here all day, every day. Aloha.